Okay, so now that we know that we've put on our stage makeup and you've worked out, I'm barely surviving in my business this week, and you're looking for land to buy.
I
Here
am
we
looking for
are.
land. As we're talking, like I said, my real estate agent is sending me different land to buy because I'm going to go and put another mini storage up. So she is in hot pursuit of looking for land for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Explain to everybody what mini storage is. I think everybody knows self storage, but mini storage is something I had to learn from you.
So mini storage is basically, my last one that I owned was 32 units, and it was no electricity, no anything like that. They have to buy their own lock for it's just like basically a garage. And like I said, my last unit was 32 units, and most of them were 10 by 20 in size. But I had some 5 by 5s and 5 by 10s. And ironically enough, we can get into this later too, because I want to talk about that, how I got investing with it. But nobody ever wanted the 5 by 5s or the 5 by 10s. They all wanted the 10 by 20s.
10 by, okay.
Because there just wasn't enough room. A 10 by 20 is just like a normal size single car garage.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you got to have some, if you want to put away things that have.
Yeah. And I had people actually park their car in there during the winter if they went south or whatever. If they I had one lady buy a brand new car and she was hiding it from her family. And so she put it in the mini.
Okay.
And I said, well, you go drive. She goes, I don't want my kids to know or else they're going to try taking it all the time. And I don't want my kids to know. So this is going to be my garage. I'm like, okay, hey, I didn't care because as long as she's paying me, it was good. So yeah, you hear all kinds of
we have to deal. Yeah, all stories. I just heard today we had a meeting with our property manager here, Liz, who I hope everybody meets soon. But she was telling me the repair work we're doing this week, we're just going over weekly. And she said, well, we're fixing 2 doors and bedroom doors and unit, whatever. And I said, why? And she said, we had an incident over the weekend. A boyfriend of a tenant caught the girlfriend with another boy. And so cops were called, doors were broken down, blah, blah, blah. So exciting world of real estate.
Yes.
Yeah.
We should almost write a book.
It would be fun.
That's actually the fun part of real estate because, you hear these stories, and as Robert Helms and Russell Gray calls them on the Real Estate Guys, they call them horror stories.
Oh, yeah. The
Halloween horror stories. The shows that they do on their Real Estate Guys radio show. Right. And I'm like, I can relate.
I was on one of those shows.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I shared my Halloween horror real estate experience stories.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to do a show about that sometime too.
Yeah, we do.
Sometimes I feel like we talk too much, like all the bad stuff. The good outweighs the bad.
Of course.
No matter what. So it's just kind of fun to share stories.
Yes, it is. We got to have some fun for sure. That's
right.
One of the top reasons for doing this, because you can have fun while you're working. And I think somebody said there's not a day of work when you're doing what you love doing.
That's right.
So.
That's right. And I actually have down in my other office, I have a sign that says that.
Oh,
and
awesome.
I love that. So.
I love it too, but let's not be too euphemistic. This is definitely work. It takes hard work, and I'm in one of those weeks right now where I'm working really hard and under a lot of stress. So it takes a lot of hard work, but we have to make sure that there's good reward to all this.
So let me ask you, do you drink wine?
Yes.
Have you had any wine this week?
Oh, yes. You know what? I actually just got diagnosed with something that requires a lot of antibiotics. So I'm going to go pick up my medicine after this. And I don't think wine for me for a while, which really saddens me.
I know. And just for my own, because I'm trying to cut back on food and intake and everything, I'm going to be giving up wine for a while.
Oh, maybe we should do it together.
Yeah.
No promises, though.
I know. No, seriously.
Okay, well, let's move on to today's topic.
Okay, let's move on to real estate investing.
Yes. Yes, limited personal finances. And this question actually was posed by one of my mentees. And I call her my mentee because she's young and she's really devoted to learning about real estate and investing. And she helps me completely voluntarily because she wants to learn. And I adore her. And this is the question she asked.
Yeah.
And she helps us with this show too, as you know.
She does. And so, like we talked last week, we want to start bringing on topics when people ask us questions. So this was such a great question to be asked, especially right away at at one of our first, this is what, our fifth show, fourth, anyway. This is just a great way to start with investing. So both you and I have experiences in this. So take it away, Miss Sonia, and then I'll jump in as well.
Yes. Well, this is the biggest hurdle. One of the biggest hurdles in real estate financing or investing is takes a lot of capital. Buy a small house and it's going to take tens of thousands of dollars at least. So, what is the easiest way or maybe the simplest way? Well, I think one of the first ways you can do is buy your own house. Don't rent. Don't pay somebody else that rent, but buy something that you can live in and build that equity. You got the best and easiest loans that's available out there. You can live there while you're investing, so you're going to pay rent anyway. So why not pay rent to yourself and build some equity? And then also home equity line is available. So that means when you build up some equity, in addition to the primary loan you have, you could draw some debt out of it based on the equity that's grown, and you could utilize to finance other endeavors. So that's the simplest way. Yep. Outside of that, obviously, first, single residential rental homes. I know it's still pretty expensive and high capital requirement, but there are still markets, I think we talked about last time, where you could buy a home for $100,000 or less. And so you get a good loan on that. You come up with 20 or 30,000 and you could get started. So single residential homes, also pretty good loans available. You don't have to pay commercial rate. The rates are really reasonable and they're more readily available. All right. And then next easiest thing I can do, actually, I think I'd rather do duplex than single family home if I can.
Any day.
Yeah, you can. Usually costs about same as buying a single residential home, depending on the area. But you could get some rental income while you're living there. And then same concept goes to triplex and quadruplex. And you just have to get one loan. So that's a big plus.
Yeah, and as we talked last time, anything up to a fourplex is still considered residential.
Right.
So anything over a fourplex or quadruplex, you'd have to get into commercial. So anything up to a fourplex, the great part about a fourplex is even if one person moves out, at least the other three are covering most of the mortgage.
Yes.
And
that's really important.
It is, because if you have one house and the person moves out, you're out
Zero.
until the next person moves in. You're like, oh, jeepers.
Yeah, and it takes a while when you have vacancy. If somebody moves out to get somebody else in, you got to show it, and that person needs to give their notice to another, previous landlord. You got to clean it. You got to replace some things.
And now it's 60 days. 60-day notice to move out of some place, which I've heard, or at least around here it is. And I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah, so it's a big drain on that revenue. But like as you say, if you have more than a couple units or one unit, then you have some interim income while people are changing out. Tenants are changing out. And this is something I know because I went to Berkeley. UC Berkeley, and it's an extremely rent-controlled city. And a lot of the rental markets here in California are turning to rent control, which is not good for landlords. Sometimes if you live in one part of duplex, triplex, quadruplex, you're exempted from rent control laws for the rest of the units.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, like I said,
I know that.
I know that because I went to Cal, and it's a very controlled area there. Vacation homes. You have one of these.
Yay, I do. I love
And you
vacation homes.
yeah, and you have some income from that, right?
I do, yes. And unfortunately, so I have one vacation home. I'm working on another one right now, and the other one will actually be in Florida. And so then I'll get year round. For the vacation home here in the Midwest, it's only because of the area where it's at, it's only actually available for 6 months out of the year. So 6 months, but I get probably higher than normal pay during those 6 months because people know that they want to stay there and they want that flexibility of being able to come and go. And there's a lot of fun. It's actually in a campground, which is ironic. Then I have other lots in that campground that I put park models or campers on.
Yeah.
And then I get the rental from that as well.
So, that's great.
Yeah, so it's actually really, even though it's only 6 months out of the year, but it makes the payment for the full year. And even with the deposit and everything else, because there for a while I was just renting out the lot.
Yeah.
And the lot, that was not really covering, it was like basically covering for 1 year, but it wasn't enough. So then I decided to put an RV or a camper on it, and then that really.
Great idea. Yeah, I'm sure there's not too many. Well, not all the places would be allowed a RV camper on the parking lot, but that's another little bit of exit strategy or additional revenue that you could add on.
Yeah, and you just have to check with wherever you have your place at. But
yeah,
that's really what I'm doing, and I'm trying to buy up extra lot. Like the guy next to one of my lots might be moving out.
Oh, awesome!
I'm like, hey. Yeah. JoJo might want your lot.
I hope JoJo gets it.
That's right. Me too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really, and then there's also, we have park models in there, and that's actually what my vacation home is a park model. But it's actually very nice.
Mobile home parks.
There's an added on room. So there's another park model for sale right now, and I'm trying to bring him down in price, but he's not budging. So I'm working on it.
What's that park model price like?
You probably fall over 38,000. Is it?
Yeah. This is why mobile home parks are really good investments right now.
Yeah.
It's the last affordable housing front that people can own.
It is. And so I'm working on it.
Okay. Well, awesome.
But it's actually very nice. And so I would, if I was to buy it, I'd move it onto one of my lots, add on a room to it, just like the other ones have.
Yeah.
And then be able to rent it out even more.
Well, and then also that reminds me, like where I'm sitting right now in Sonoma County, in Santa Rosa is where the big fire had happened in California.
Oh, yeah.
Well, due to that fire, the zoning laws changed a little bit to allow people to have, we have extreme housing shortage as it is here, and even worse after the fire because a lot of houses burnt down. The zoning law changed a little bit so that people can now build an in-law unit on their one, single family lot, or bring in a camper or maybe even a small RV, and sometimes people can have a little extra revenue that way.
Yeah.
You can rent out your in-law unit.
That's fantastic.
So, yeah, it's an unfortunate event that caused that, but now zoning laws are slowly changing a little bit, which is nice. Okay, we talk about this a lot, flipping, and this is a good way for people to get started. But I do think it's a bit of a misconception that it doesn't take too much capital, because I think it does.
I think it does too. I've never, and honestly, I'm going to be honest, I've never done a flip. And I still want to do one just so I have it in my repertoire. But
it's like a rite
of passage.
Yeah, rite of passage.
Flipping my and so I know what it's like. I've worked with investors who have done them. I've worked with a real estate agent who did it.
Yeah.
But I've actually never done one myself. Now you've done them, right?
I have done them, and I haven't done too many because I quickly realized that it's pretty high risk and pretty capital intensive endeavor. And then I kind of look at all the TV shows that are out there and kind of shake my head because I think they hide a lot of pitfalls that you could run into.
Mhm.
And when they go over, oh, this is how much they spent and this is how much they got out. I'm like, well, what about like the interest rate you have to pay while there's no income while you're fixing it up for 6 months,
Yeah.
or the broker fee you had to pay when you buy it and when you sell it, when you sell it too. So like, actually just selling it, I guess, is most of the time. So I think there's a lot of misconception out there. Flipping, I think, is rather capital intensive because you got to buy that house and, it's not going to bring in rental income, or if it will, it's not going to be very much because obviously the house needs a lot of work. So the bank isn't going to give you that much loan. So you got to come up with more down payment.
I know.
And then there's no, again, there's no rent revenue while you're fixing it up.
Mhm.
And then, of course, there's the price of fixing it up, which is not small, depending on how big the job is. And oftentimes, once you start pulling down walls or opening up walls, you're like, oh, crap, there's this big drywall on the stud that we didn't even know. So you got to come up with all of those what if scenario financing capabilities into play.
Yeah. And if you don't know people who are able to fix things for you, that is definitely the thing you want to have in your back pocket first.
Yes.
Is who are you going to have as your contractor, and what exactly needs to be done to the house. Now, another thing, and I don't know if we're going to talk about this today, but also foreclosures.
Oh, yeah.
You go to the foreclosure sale. I think that's a whole other story, but that'd be almost kind of like a flip, depending on what all needs to be done with that.
Yeah.
And then
again,
sure. But it's good to know who's going to be your contractor, what are you going to do to go in.
Well, I mean, the longer you sit on it, the costly it is too. So unless you can really dedicate your time and resources to it, it's not a realistic endeavor.
Right. Yeah. And it's time intensive. But again, I'm willing to try it. So.
Okay. Well, I'll help you.
Okay. Good.
All right. So when you're limited with whether it's time or financing or capital, I think the best way to is find the partner. Joe wants to do a flipping deal, and she has the energy and the capital and maybe the time, and I'd like to get into it, let's say, but I don't have the resources, meaning the potential to flip over here in Northern California. I mean, nothing makes financial sense to me. So I'll say, hey, Joe, can I be your partner? I heard you found a great house to do this. What do you need from me? Well, I don't know. Maybe I could get a better loan than Joe can, or maybe Joe needs a little more capital. Maybe what she has isn't enough to make it really, to buy this house that she thinks she could really make it into a gem. So, okay, let's see what we can do together. So you kind of pull your resources together. I think it's the best way.
Absolutely.
How do you find a partner? Well, I just asked Joe to be my partner. That's how you do it.
That's how you do it. You just ask. That's right.
Yeah, you know what? You can't have too thin of a skin to do this.
Right. Yeah, you really do have to have. And I'm just going to tell you, when I decided to buy this mini storage, it was my neighbor's parents that owned it. And she just came to me and said, hey, actually she had come to me 2 years before that. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. And then she came to me again 2 years later. She goes, are you sure you don't want to buy this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. And she was kind of my partner because she actually, introduced me to her parents, and not that she did any financial part of it, but she was my partner for a time being because she did all kind of the work of introduction. And then I did not have my real estate license at that time. So her sister came in, and anyway, so we did really good.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people around everybody who wants to invest in real estate. So you just ask. Maybe it takes more than one person, but you have to ask for help, and people don't know that you need help if you don't ask. So you just go out and see who has the same goal as you do and pull up different resources together. And somebody is willing to do the
so
capital
many people
investment.
have more resources than what sometimes that we might think that they have, or willing to sometimes talk about.
Right.
So it's really good to just be able to go and ask them.
Yeah,
And if they don't, maybe they know somebody that does.
exactly. Do you know somebody else that might be interested in, investing in real estate? And
Absolutely.
one of the most scarce resources, time for people.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're willing to spend the time and sweat to go out and do this, I'm pretty confident you could find other people who trust you to do the right thing, but
Yeah.
who wants to do this with you.
Absolutely. And
So
be with somebody that you trust.
oh yeah.
If you get into something that you're like, I'm not really sure, do not partner with them.
And I've been telling you I'm so stressed out this week, and that is the very reason.
Mm-hmm.
I lost trust in one of my partners that I'm doing a
No.
big project with, and
Shoot.
it is not a good life.
Oh, shoot, that's the worst.
It is the worst. And
Oh.
nothing happened yet, but I'm trying to prevent something bad from happening. And so
Mm-hmm.
we're fighting it. And it's just the worst when your money, capital, and work is tied up, is somebody you don't really trust.
Yeah,
So,
and there's nothing worse because people will value their money more than they'll value you.
oh,
And,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just, it's their money, and they just are going to hold on to it. So I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it is, but I'll work it out, and I'm hoping this experience too will add to my, inner resume and help me further along somewhere in
Good.
the future. So
That's right. And
hopefully,
it's an experience. Yep.
yes,
But it's, makes us pull our hair out.
and loosely,
Makes me blonde my hair even more.
yes, white hair for me.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. No, I mean, because I would be gray if I didn't
Yes,
highlight.
yes. So definitely, it's never worth it to get into a business situation where you don't have 100% trust in this person.
Right.
Integrity is so important. That person he or she has to be willing to do the right thing.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. Skill set contribution. Again, somebody knows how to do carpenter work. Maybe they want to come in and help you out, and in exchange for some equity, and you don't have to pay a contractor. Somebody knows how to, maybe there's a broker and you don't have to pay commission because that person's going to be in charge of buying and selling. That's a huge savings.
That's a
there.
huge savings.
Yeah.
That's right.
So see what resource you could pull out and share of profit. The skin in the game, I put that in there to talk about because I think it's important when you form a partnership that everybody has some sort of stake.
Yeah.
And I know that for myself, if I put money into something, I'm gonna care a little more than if
absolutely.
I'm just watching. So I think that part's pretty important.
Absolutely. And the thing, like for me, if I'm gonna go and flip, I don't know how to paint. One time I learned how to lay tile, but that was probably 20 years ago.
Wow, you're handy.
Yeah, so I don't know really how to do anything.
So
that's where I have to rely on other people to know what they're doing. Yeah. And I'm pretty quick study. If they come in and they kind of start messing around, I'm like, no. But if they start doing what they say they're going to do, then I trust them. But somebody like me that doesn't have that, and I don't care to learn it because that's just not one of my strong suits.
Yeah, see, knowing what you're willing to do is important too.
And other people love to paint. They love to decorate.
I can't stand painting. I hate it.
Me neither. I'm just like, get me away. I don't even like painting. I have a hard time. I'm trying to pick a house. But
I can pick stuff out. I can't.
Yeah, I'd rather pick it out. I can pick it out, but I just can't lay it.
No.
So, and if that's something that you can do, I remember my brother and family 20 some years ago. They put like $40,000 worth of sweat equity into the house, and the state that they lived in at the time allowed them to do that. And it was beautiful. They went to some of these Home Depots and Lowe's and Menards and learned how to do it.
Yeah.
And now you can do it all over YouTube, but at that time you couldn't.
Yeah, that's right.
They did it, and it was beautiful. It took them a little while longer than normal, but hey, you know what? Saved them a lot of money. Yeah. So there's so many different ways you can do it.
Yeah. First time, after I did flipping, I moved on to doing ground up construction of new homes without a general contractor. I ran my own jobs. And I had trusted subs, but the first time I did it was so stressful. I didn't know what I was doing. Obviously, I'm trained as a lawyer. I can't even put up a shelf. But I had to run these subs, and they would tell me stuff, and I'd be like, okay. And then I would come home, and my brother-in-law, who's an architect, bought me a book on basically like a treatise on how to build a home. So I would look up terms, construction terms, and understand what they're talking about, like what needs to come next. And so it was really stressful, but yeah. I don't know why I brought that up. You say you had to go people had to do work, so it just brought up that memory of me going back.
Well, at least you did it. I think that's, years ago, people were talking to me about developing some stuff, and I did run away from that because I thought, I don't know if I'm ready to do that. But that's good for you for going after that.
Well, I didn't make money on that first house, so there you go. There's some educational cost that I have to pay. But I learned.
Oh yes, it's always a learning process.
Yeah, it is, and that's one of the rewarding things for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Business. It's it is fun when the checks are rolling in.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, now there's getting the payoff for my hard work.
Yeah, and I also really enjoy working with other people when there's a like-minded people.
I do too.
Yeah, I think that process itself is really rewarding too.
Yeah, me too. I love that.
Celebrating together is fun.
Amen. It is.
All right. So how do we structure a partnership once you find that partner who's willing to work with you? Well, you could share the profit in however many ways you see fit, or you think everybody's fair, or everybody thinks is fair. So it could be, if there's 2-person, okay, I'll bring in the capital. You're gonna manage the whole process and manage the construction process and put up shelves if you have to. You get 50%. Or somebody is just doing the carpenter work and maybe they just need 5% from the profit. I don't know. So you could split it however the party sees fit.
Absolutely.
There's also different ways where you share the risk. For example, if there's a partner who brought in majority of the capital or all of it, maybe that person wants to get certain percentage of the cash flow first, and maybe that's fair. So for example, if Joe brought in the capital of $100,000 and I'm managing it, I found the project, and we're going to split our profit 60%, 10%. Well, maybe Joe should get 10% of the cash flow first, and whatever is remaining should be split 50-50 or 60-40 or whatever. That way, the more risk is shifted to the person who didn't bring in the capital, but the person who brought the capital gets first dibs, basically. It takes
gets first dibs for sure.
Yeah, so that's another way to shift some of the risk, because if after 10% cash flow or profit, maybe there's nothing left. And so the later you get paid, lower down the chart, your risk is bigger. This is kind of a basic principle. Capital gets paid out first. So when you have a good deal and you refinance it, or you end up selling it after you improving it or what have you, well, the first proceeds should go first to return the capital. And I think if you're the partner who's contributing capital, you should insist upon this. I think it's fair.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're putting up the capital, you should get first return.
Yeah, I mean, anybody, no sweat equity profit, nothing. Capital goes back first.
Yeah.
There's payment versus front versus payment later. This is another way to sort of shift the risk to one person or the other. If you're getting paid first, your risk is smaller. If you're getting paid later, after the other person gets paid first, you're getting more of the risk. But this, you might be thinking, well, who's going to agree to get paid later? But it all depends on the situation. So let's say Joe's going to flip a house and she really, really knows that this is going to be an awesome project. And I'm not sure. I don't live there. I'm not looking at it. I'm like, okay, well, I'll be a capital partner, but I kind of want some of the money. I want to make sure some of the money is coming back to me. And Joe says, okay, well, you know what? You could have all the cash flow. You could have all the rental money for first 5 years, because I really think the beauty of this project is in the equity price that we could resell at. And then you could take all the cash flow, and then I'll take whatever's left when we refinance the project or when we sell the property. Well, it works for me, works for Joe, because she sees the merit in increasing the equity. I want to get some money out. I want to have some cash flow, so I'll take that deal. So everybody's in a different situation, and you could work out the partnership structure however works for everybody.
Works for me too. I mean, that's a perfect scenario.
Right. So you can get really creative with partnership structure.
That's the best part. And again, depends on your project and depends on your partner.
Yep.
So,
as long as you have a common goal and willing to solve each other's problem, you could find a solution.
Yep.
But do point out a deal breaker in your agreement, because there comes a point a lot of times where you can't reach an agreement, and so you have to plan a way out. You don't want to be in a situation where you're locked down with a lawsuit, or you can't, I want to do this and Joe wants to do something else, and well, what are we going to do without getting into a lawsuit? And it's law school. I must still have bad memories from it. If you point out, well, let's say, we have a friend X and we both really trust that person, and that person has lots of experience. Let's have her make the decision, and we agree in advance to be bound by that decision. And so that's one good way to prevent a lawsuit upfront. Hopefully you don't have to get into that situation.
I was gonna say, hopefully you never have to, but you never know. So
it happens
a lot. It's always good to be protected.
There are a lot of lawyers out there, and they're busy, and there's a reason.
That's right.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, tell us some of your first deals and how you financed it.
Well, I'm going to go back to my first deal. Is we knew some people that we knew we could rent our home to. So that was our very first deal. But I have done contract for deeds on 2 or 3 different deals. So let's go back to the mini storage. I did it on a couple of single family homes that I did, but also I was going to do a contract for deed on a 4-plex. So I was going to buy the whole building and then sell each unit, but keep it as an HOA. Well, what was happening is the builder wasn't fulfilling his obligation. So I got my money back, and then I thought, there's something else. Well, then my neighbor came and said, hey, my parents are selling their mini storage. Why don't you go talk to them? Now, I probably got the best advice I'd ever gotten. And my real estate friend said, go sit down with them, shake their hand, and have coffee with them. Now, we're small town, so we could do that. That's exactly what I did. I built that trust with them. And because they had never really heard of contract for deeds before. So I went and I called them up, and again, we already had that connection through my neighbor, my friend. And I went and sat down with them, and it was the best conversation I'd had in probably with any seller I've ever had.
Oh,
and I was there for 2 hours. So we made the agreement.
Awesome.
They trusted me, and I did that, and I said, I'll pay it off in 2 years. Sure enough, after 2 years, I paid them off. And I just sent them a monthly check. That's all I did. I had the amortization schedule all done, which is, what the payments will be plus interest. And their daughter is a real estate agent, their other daughter. So she came and signed, we signed all the paperwork. It was a beautiful deal. So.
Oh, that's really great to hear. I love stories like that. I mean, a lot of times if you just sit down and have face to face and, how can we solve this problem? How can we make it work for you? How can it make work for me? You can solve a lot of the problems. And that's what we're talking about here. Like, people want to do investment, but they have a problem not having capital. Well, they have the energy and the time, and somebody else might not have. So you work things out.
Yeah, and that was even before I even knew about working with other people. I mean,
Mm.
I knew about it, but I wasn't sure how to do it. Now, of course, now I do. But another deal I did was that was before the mini storage. Is this is back when I had my real estate license. So I found this house. It was um, it was an older home, but it was a
Mhm.
2 bedroom, 1 bath, had a huge backyard. So I went to there was a builder that actually owned it. So I said to him, I said, really like to own it. I just don't have a lot of money. He goes, no problem. Just take over. I think I had to pay like
Yeah.
$500. 500
Oh my
bucks.
God.
And there was a young gal that lived there, and she was really good. And we owned it for about 2 years. And then I was going to pay it off after 4 or 5. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And then my husband fell ill, and I just couldn't keep up with everything. So I went to him. I said,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. There's no way I can pay this off. This is what happened. He goes, and he was just the nicest guy. He goes, don't worry about it. We'll take it back over. Just, of course, the legal, we had to go back and forth because
Sure.
we had already quit claimed it deeded over to me and all this. And so
Yeah.
it's just those type of things. As long
Yeah.
as you work with
Yeah.
people. Now,
Yeah.
I've also had my fair share of other stuff, but
Yes,
those are
I'm
some,
sure.
and I have to let my dog out because she's scratching at the door. So just
Okay, you go do
excuse me
that.
for a second. And but those are some of the deals that you can
Yeah.
make.
Hmm.
Again, working one on one with somebody and just
Yeah.
sit down at a table and talk to them.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you have absolutely no money at all, maybe your friends, neighbors, family, maybe somebody just needs to leave the house. Maybe somebody's family member passed away and they
Mm-hmm.
don't know what to do with it, and they're willing to let you take over and rent it out or fix it up or what have you for a little bit in exchange. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways you could look for a deal. So I
Oh,
think
there's
the
so many different ways,
right.
and
Yeah, if you just look for it, there's bound to be a solution somewhere.
there's also a thing
Ah,
that I learned that
mm,
if you drive, because we call that driving for dollars, so you drive neighborhoods and look at different neighborhoods that you're interested in. If people have like
literally.
pods in their driveway, or there are U-Haul things in their driveway,
Oh
they're,
yeah.
they're cleaning out or they're
Yeah.
getting ready to move,
Yeah.
and that's a good time to go knock on the door and just say
Yeah.
hi.
Estate sales are
Estate
good.
sales are good ones.
Because that house is going to come on the market sooner or later.
Yep, yep,
So you get to know them, and maybe there's a deal there.
yep.
So yeah, you can find your edge a lot of different ways. It just depends on how hard you're willing to look and how creative you're willing to be.
That's right.
For me, I'm pretty lucky. I was able to finance my own first flip deal, which I didn't make much money on it. I wish I had held on because it was in heart of Palo Alto,
Oh,
Silicon Valley.
yeah.
And the measly little money I made flipping it, I could have by now could have been a huge amount. But I could have bought Apple stock too, which I didn't.
Yeah.
So there you go. But
Yeah.
for me, I was lucky enough to get normal financing and put up the capital I needed to put up. Of course, I did have friends who had different skill set kind of come in and do the work with me, for sharing of the profit, like, handy work, carpenter work, or painting work and things like that. Um, but my real one of the stories I like to tell is the student housing apartment acquisition, and I'm there right now. Joe noticed the difference in my background. She's like,
Yes,
"Right,
I did.
well, I'm here in my very first syndicated property, and the reason I was able to get this deal, well, I couldn't do this deal. It was way beyond what I could do on my own, but the deals that I was looking at for my own portfolio were just so competitive. There were multiple offers on all of them. The buildings were crumbling. I mean, these were crappy properties, but people were just clamoring to get them. And then so I was just so frustrated, and I decided to look at something that costs like 5 times what I can afford, what I can do on my own.
Oh,
And I,
wow.
I saw this and I said, I want that. There weren't multiple bids on this, and the building was really nice compared to the ones I was looking at. Great condition, great tenant profile. I mean, we're talking about college students whose parents co-sign.
Hmm.
Oh, that's great. So I said, well, that's what I want, and
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't finance it. So I asked my family and friends. I had a huge fight with my dad because he didn't want me to sign a personal guarantee, but I still believed in it. I fought him, and I made him some money, so that's good. He invested in it, and I made some friends some money too. So yeah, that's how I got onto doing bigger deals.
Very nice. And I have not syndicated a deal yet, like I've talked about before. So anxiously looking for a place where I can syndicate. So
Yeah, well, once you start a partnership, it's syndication. So
yeah. Oh,
find
that's true.
find that house that we can flip, and I'll be your syndicator. You can syndicate to me
Sounds good to me
because I trust you. You're a good partner.
I am, and I trust you too. That's why why we're doing this, which is so
Yep,
awesome.
it is. It is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that was fun. This is a great topic, and I enjoyed talking about it with you, Joe.
Yes, and I enjoy talking about it with you because this is such a great learning experience for everybody, and even for me, because there's so much stuff about you I don't know yet. So
Oh yeah,
we're
me
learning
too.
as much as you guys are as well. So we're
Yeah.
hoping that you find this very valuable.
Yeah.
And again, you can go to my website, you can go to Sonia's website and email us. And gosh, any questions or any comments you have about this, we love teaching. That's
Yeah.
one thing about Sonia and I.
Yeah.
We are teachers at heart.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I actually teach at a local university.
Yeah, you actually do teach.
I actually do teach.
Yeah.
But it's just what we love doing. And
Yeah.
we're here to help women in real estate and even men.
Oh,
So,
totally.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, women and men, we just go together. So we're here to help all of you, and that's why we're doing the show. So we're hoping, email us and let us know what you think and any questions because we'd love to answer them.
We do. And the reason we're doing this is I mean, personally, I didn't have anybody to ask questions to when I first started.
Oh,
I just
me
kind of
neither.
guessed and sort of, ran back home and looked at my books and did things like that. So we're here to answer questions and share our experience and resources.
Right.
So we encourage you to do that.
And this show actually, this show in particular, our first deals, this came out of a question that was asked. So
Yeah.
out of our
exactly.
wonderful gal, Devin, that
Yes.
helps us. So
Yes.
you know what? And that's what this is all about, is helping
Yes.
you find the best deals out there.
Yep. So hopefully
figuring out how to find the best deals.
Yeah. And then financing it.
Yep, and financing them, yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's been fun. I will talk to you again soon.
Yes, and then do you have the last slide up where it says our email addresses? And
oh yeah.
There we go. That's how you contact us. Mine is my website, joehosman.com, or my email, joe@joehosman.com, and then Leeward, REI, and then Sonia at leewardrei.com. And our mission statement is, are you ready for this? We are so excited. So excited. Energize women to not accept the status quo. I even had to look it up because I want to make sure I got it right.
Yeah, we have to practice.
Energize women to not accept the status quo because we don't have to accept it anymore. This is 2020.
Keep challenging it.
That's right. New clarity, new vision, new life.
Awesome.
All right. Have a great day, a great rest of your day, and we're going to talk soon.
Sounds good.
All right. Take care.
You too,
bye-bye.
Joe. Bye.